Welcome back to Living from the Inside Out, Life in the Spiritual Lane. I'm Anne-Marie McElroone. I'm here today with Tim, the wonderful Tim, and really happy to have you here.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Glad to be here.
Um, so we'll just launch right into it. We're going to talk about anger today, which I think is a really fascinating topic. We could probably talk about anger for multiple episodes, but we're going to start today. It interested me so much when I found out this was the topic we were going to discuss. It made me laugh because you're really one of the most peaceful souls I've ever met. Deep well of peace within you, and that others experience when they're around you. So, what made you choose anger? What about that topic um, did you want to discuss?
It's plagued me, I guess you could. I'm saying plagued me now from this perspective of having been meditating for 22 years and understanding what anger is now. 22 years ago, I thought anger was just a natural part of my makeup and perfectly normal way to get what I needed done or to correct other people or to whatever. I mean, that anger can serve a lot of functions, albeit there's a lot of fallout when you get angry, but it does serve a purpose. And so what I've found out since then is that when you're angry, you're actually looking for peace. It's a quick and dirty substitute for peace. Because what the issue is, if you're not experiencing something on the inside, you're going to try to recreate it on the outside. And so if I'm lacking peace on the inside, I can't, my tolerance level for other things, other people, different situations, it goes way down. And so to correct that feeling of intolerance or frustration or whatever, I would get angry. And most people are more than happy to comply to your wishes if you get angry, because they want to create peace themselves too. Because I dare say everybody wants peace in some way or form. And if I'm flying off the handle, people scurry. That's a great way to get things done. But there's so much damage created, damage to relationships, damage to the self. Physiologically, it's terrible too. It just creates havoc in the body. So that was the first understanding that I had of anger was you're trying to create something that you're missing, or your feel is missing. It's actually not missing, it's in there, but there's layers and layers and layers of life over top of it. And so we resort to the easiest, the quickest route, and that's to get angry, get gets things done.
Wow, that's really deep what you've just said, and it's just creating so many images in my mind. And so I'm picturing the the person who is feeling peaceless inside, therefore less tolerance, therefore lashing out, perhaps, and then this image of people scurrying, and then does that leave them with a temporary feeling of peace? Does that help clear the air for them so that they don't feel that irritation for that brief period of time?
Yeah, it probably does somewhat, but it's not deep and it's not lasting, and they probably want to avoid. It's an avoidance behavior, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's not really satisfying. It is for the moment just because the anger that I'm expressing subsides. And then so there's that brief bit of peace. I wouldn't even call it peace really, because
yeah, yeah.
compared to what I've experienced in meditation of peace and how you can bring that to the outside world, it's night and day. But it is a form of peace, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, just very, very interesting how there's a longing for one thing and then we use a real stand in emotion, stand in reaction to try and get it, and how it doesn't give us that at all.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's yeah, really, really interesting. So, what about for you then? I mean, you've learned this over time. How have you dealt with anger over the years as you've meditated for, longer and longer periods of time? It's 22 years now. What's your journey with anger been like?
So what the meditation did was it gave me the space, and it's kind of hard to describe because typically when you get angry, it's right there. Boom, you're triggered and boom, it's there. So what meditation taught me, and or the opportunity it provided, I'm not really sure how to express it, but is this time. So I can see it coming. I can feel it coming. I know the train's coming down the track now because the rails are vibrating.
Mm,
So there's a lot of warning coming up. So there's so much time now between the trigger and the response, the anger, the blowout, that I can make a different choice. And you may have heard that expression that anger is a choice we make. And it became really clear at that moment when it's like, oh my goodness, I can feel it coming, and I'm actually making a choice if I'm going to get angry or do something else. And there's so many other things we can do. If you just have that brief moment and you go, okay, I don't have to jump into the typical response. I can just chill for a little bit. I can talk to someone. Like, we can negotiate this. We can discuss it. We can get someone to a third party to be with us and just mediate it. I mean, there's a whole bevy of options suddenly became open.
yeah, just by that increased space created by, like, I love that description of, you can see the train coming, you can feel the vibrations on the tracks, right?
Mm.
Whereas I feel like for many folks, um, that awareness isn't there. The anger, as you described, the anger comes and boom, we're acting on it.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas from what I'm hearing from you, like the meditation has created space. It's almost like it's slowed time down so that you can be aware of what's happening as it's happening.
Yeah. That's totally it. If you've ever been in an accident and time suddenly seems to go really slow. Like, I remember we were in a small accident once, and the tail light of the vehicle shattered, but it was flying through the air in slow motion. And anger is kind of like an accident too. It's the same thing. But if you take that opportunity of that time space to go, okay, I could do something different here.
So now that you're able to see the train coming, you're obviously making, a different choice. And I do see that there's a choice in anger when you've got that space and time, because I think for many folks, it just feels like a match has been struck and lit immediately. So that's one of the things that meditation gives you, is that awareness, that moment when you can actually see things slow down and make a different choice. So how's that changed how you express anger, or if you express anger? And what's been the impact around you with those around you?
Yeah. Well, I know it's benefited those around me for sure. And so let's talk about the expression of anger. I mean, I still get angry, but it's so much less, probably 98% less, might even be more. But it's still there. Every once in a while I notice it, and it's like, oh, because anger doesn't have to be a full blowout. There's lots of expressions of anger: agitation, irritation, These are all little kind of pods, so to speak, of anger. So they're quite noticeable, and it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know I felt some sort of dislike of something or some situation. So it's kind of like a, hey, look over here. There's still a little bit of work you need to do in this area, more than a big rage or anything like that. So yeah, it's really beneficial in that way. And so the physiology too. I mean, there's there's so much negative or hormones that would affect the self negatively when you get fly into a rage that's bound to be beneficial for health too. And I guess you'd have to speak to some people that I know that to find out how it's changed for them, but I'm pretty sure it's changed quite a bit.
Hmm.
It's not a pleasant energy to be around.
No, no, it isn't. While you were speaking, I thought about, sometimes when you speak with people and they're upset about something, or I'll even use the word outraged, because I feel like we live in a somewhat of an outrage culture right now where we're invited continuously to be outraged by particular situations. So, what do you do in that circumstance when you're talking to a friend or around someone who's experiencing a significant amount of anger and they're inviting you to join them?
Mm.
And in fact, they're hoping to be validated by you joining them in their anger. How do you handle that?
I don't join in.
Mm,
I mean, I'm there and I'm present and I hear them, but I'm taking my mind and my thoughts and my heart to a peaceful place. And and hopefully that's helping them. But I also don't stop them. I think they're fully allowed to express themselves and to go where they're going. And I love the Shakespeare quote, all the world's a stage and all the men and women are merely players. So I take on more of an observer role. And it's like they're in their full right to play the part that they're playing. And this is, I think, another benefit of meditation is just allowing the self to be an actor in the this play of life, but more so to couple it with being an observer as well, and really just kind of taking a step back a little bit in a way, and not because the world's going to go on whether or not I get on board with someone's argument.
hmm hmm right.
And, but I think there's actually benefit in just trying to be neutral because there's always two sides to an argument, and sometimes there's more. Well, there's two sides to an argument, and then there's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, I like that. I mean, I hear like observing, being present, but not reacting, right? Not joining in the lighting of the match that then creates that very, burning hot fire. So it's like you're being a cooling presence in the presence of whatever other flames are being fanned, but also not having judgment about those flames being fanned, which I think would be cooling as well.
Well, and I, of all people, can certainly empathize with others who are embroiled in something because I was an angry young man once, and so I get it. I totally get it, but I think it is beneficial. I know it's beneficial. I see it at work by just being calm and caring. There's no loss of empathy. There's no loss of caring for people or even loving people by staying neutral. And we get attached to ideas, and we get attached to this. If you cared for me, you would get on board with this. That's not factual. You can love someone, you can care for them, you can even care for the issues, but you don't have to take on the same emotions. In fact, it's
Hmm
more beneficial to be neutral. There's all kinds of physiological responses that when you're angry, that your choices of how you can respond are so limited. So limited. It's the fight, flight, or freeze or fawn responses right there. And that's in today's complex world, we really need answers that are going to go beyond that. So to present that, to be the peaceful, loving, kind energy in that, whenever you can be, is going to bring benefit to others, to the situation. And it may not be noticeable on the outside, but there's an undercurrent that it brings to a situation. And people in my office come in to be in that presence. I'm not trying to self-adulate. I'm just saying that it's real. Even though it's very subtle, it's real.
Yeah. Well, I can understand. I mean, we've all been in a car or sitting across from someone who's angry, and you can feel the energy of that palpably. There's just no mistaking it. People can feel the literal heat of anger when they are in its presence. And so, of course, why wouldn't they be able to feel the calmness of internal peace as well? And yes, want to be around that.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense. Well, I can see we're running out of time, and I feel like we could keep talking about this. We might have to get together again, Tim. But is there
Sure.
anything else that you wanted to leave folks with about anger before we sign off for this episode?
Yeah, I guess it would just be that anger is not you, and that it's a learned behavior, and you can get through it, and you can be happy doing that, and you can create a life that is actually very satisfying, and very satisfying for yourself and for others around you, and that you don't have to wallow in that anger. Although it may feel right, it is not you. And there's a way through it. And for me, it was meditation. Meditation showed me that there's another way possible. And it may not be meditation for you, for someone else, but you've got to find a way to turn off that tap, or to get that little space of time so that you can notice what it is that you're doing, and allow yourself to get back to your natural self, which is peaceful, loving, happy, or content at least. So that would be my last words to leave with.
I think that's a great place to end, and a great space for us to leave folks in that beautiful internal space. Thanks so much, Tim. It's a great conversation, and I think we're going to have to continue and do another episode about anger at another time.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for the opportunity to talk, and I would love to come back, and we can dive in deeper.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks so much.
Bye for now.
Bye.